In our previous lecture, we introduced the P-delta effect. We used a portal frame as an example. The frame was subjected to gravity and horizontal loads. The horizontal load caused the frame to sidesway. Once the frame moved sideways, the gravity load no longer acted through the original geometry. It acted through the displaced shape of the frame. This produced an additional moment. We call it the secondary moment. This is a structure-level second-order effect. It is commonly referred to as the large P-delta effect. In this lecture, we study the same general idea, but now we look at it at the member level. Instead of focusing on frame sidesway, we focus on member deflection. Here, the axial force acts through the deflected shape of the beam. This creates another secondary moment. This moment is associated with the smaller deflection of the member itself. This effect is commonly referred to as the small P-delta effect. In real structural systems, both effects can occur at the same time. The structure may sidesway. The members may also bend locally. When that happens, the secondary moments add to one another. Together, they can amplify the internal member forces, and that amplification can be larger than what either effect would produce by itself. The aim of this lecture is to determine a moment amplification factor that accounts for the small P-delta effect in a cantilever beam. We then use this amplification factor to estimate the second-order moment at the member level. This allows us to see how the second-order approach differs from the first-order approach when calculating the design moment for the beam. Consider a cantilever beam, fixed at the right end and free at the left end. The beam carries a uniformly distributed load. It also carries an axial compressive force applied at the free end. The distributed load causes the beam to bend downward. As point A moves down, the geometry of the beam changes. The axial force is no longer acting through the original horizontal line between A and B. It is now acting through the displaced position of point A. That displacement creates an offset, and when the axial force acts through this offset, it produces an additional moment at the fixed end, which is the source of the second-order effect. We begin by looking at the effect of the uniformly distributed load. At this stage, we ignore the secondary effect of the axial force. So this is a first-order analysis. The distributed load causes the free end of the beam to move downward. We can calculate this deflection using any standard method. For example, we could use the double integration method, or we could use the virtual load method. For a cantilever beam subjected to a uniformly distributed load, the free end deflection is, here, delta sub 0 is the first-order deflection. The subscript 0 tells us that this is the displacement before we include the secondary effect of the axial load. Because the beam is statically determinate, we can find the moment at point B directly from statics. For the uniformly distributed load, the moment at the fixed end of the beam is, here, m sub 0 is first-order bending moment. The subscript 0 has the same meaning as before. It tells us that this moment is obtained from first-order analysis. Notice that I have drawn this moment in the counterclockwise direction. This is intentional. The arrow shows the moment caused by the distributed load at point B. In other words, it shows the action moment from the load. It is not the support reaction moment. The support reaction moment would act in the opposite direction. Now notice something important. Both m0 and delta 0 come from the same load, W. So these two quantities are not independent. If we rewrite the deflection equation this way, we can see the bending moment expression inside it. This means we can relate delta and m using this equation. The term in parentheses represents the inverse of the bending stiffness for this cantilever beam. Beam stiffness relationships commonly involve the ratio EI over L squared, so this form is useful because it separates the moment term from the beam stiffness term. So this term is the inverse of beam stiffness. Let's refer to the stiffness as K. Then the first-order deflection can be written as the first-order moment multiplied by 1 over K. Or, equivalently, the first-order moment can be written as K times the first-order deflection. This gives us a simple linear relationship between the moment at B and deflection at A. So, for this cantilever beam, K is equal to 4EI over L squared. And the relationship between the deflection at A and the moment at B can be written in either of these two forms. Now let's apply the horizontal force P at the displaced position of point A. Because point A has already moved downward by delta zero, the force P now acts through an offset. That offset produces an additional moment at B. We call this incremental moment M1. So M1 is equal to P times delta zero. Keep in mind that M1 is not the original moment from the distributed load. It is an additional moment produced by the P delta effect. This incremental moment causes additional deflection at point A. Let's call that additional deflection delta 1. Using the same stiffness relationship, we can write delta 1 as M1 divided by K. And since M1 is equal to P times delta 0, we can rewrite delta 1 in terms of delta 0. So, after the first increment, the free end has moved by an additional amount, delta 1. But the process does not stop there. Because of this new displacement, the force P now has an additional offset. P times delta 1 produces another incremental moment at B. We call this moment M2. Using the same stiffness relationship again, delta 2 is equal to M2 divided by K, and since M2 is equal to P times delta 1, we can rewrite delta 2 in terms of delta 1. Then, using the expression for delta 1 from the previous step, we can express delta 2 in terms of delta 0. So, at the end of the second increment, we get another additional deflection at A. That additional deflection is delta 2. Let's do one more increment. In the third increment, the additional moment is M3. M3 is equal to P times delta 2. This moment produces another additional deflection at A. We call that deflection delta 3, which equals M3 divided by K, and by substituting the previous delta expressions, delta 3 can also be written in terms of delta 0. At this point, a clear pattern begins to appear. Each displacement increment is equal to delta 0 multiplied by P over K raised to a power. For the first increment, P over K is raised to the power 1. For the second increment, it is raised to the power 2. For the third increment, it is raised to the power 3. This pattern continues in all subsequent increments. Now, we can write the total deflection at A. The total deflection is the sum of all deflection terms. It includes the initial deflection due to the gravity load. That is delta 0. It also includes all the incremental deflections caused by the axial load P. Using the deflection terms we just developed, we can write the total deflection in expanded form. Inside the square brackets, we have a familiar pattern. It has the same form as a geometric series. For a geometric series, if r is less than 1, the series converges, and the sum of the series is 1 over 1 minus r. In our case, the common ratio is P over K. So if P over K is less than 1, we can replace the bracketed series with 1 over 1 minus P over K. This gives us the total second-order deflection at A. Now let's define the ratio between the total deflection and the first-order deflection. We call this ratio B. So the total deflection is equal to B times delta 0. This means B acts as a deflection amplification factor. It tells us how much the first-order deflection is amplified by the small P delta effect. Now the next question is this: can we also use B as a moment amplification factor? Let's check. We already established a linear relationship between moment and deflection. The total second-order moment is equal to K times the total deflection. Also, the first order moment is equal to k times the first order deflection. If we divide the second equation by the first equation, the stiffness k cancels out. So the moment ratio becomes equal to the deflection ratio, and the deflection ratio is b. Therefore, the second order moment can also be estimated by multiplying the first order moment by b. This gives us a simple approximate method for estimating the small p delta effect in a cantilever beam. Now let's apply this method to our numerical example. Here is our cantilever beam. The distributed gravity load has an intensity of 10 kilonewtons per meter. The axial compressive load is 100 kilonewtons. The beam length is 10 meters, and the flexural rigidity, EI, is known. We have already derived the moment amplification factor. We also know that the second order moment can be estimated by multiplying the first order moment by this amplification factor. First, let's calculate the member stiffness, K. For this cantilever beam, K is equal to 4EI over L squared. Substituting the given values, K evaluates to 2,128 kilonewtons. Now we calculate P over K. That is 100 divided by 2,128. This gives a value of about 0.05. So the moment amplification factor is 1.05. Next, we calculate the first order moment at the fixed end. M0 is equal to WL squared over 2. Here, W is 10 kilonewtons per meter, and L is 10 meters. So M0 is 500 kilonewton meters. Now we multiply this first order moment by the amplification factor. This gives a second order moment of 525 kilonewton meters. So for this particular beam, the second order result is 5% higher than the first order result. That means the first order analysis underestimates the design moment by about 5%. For this beam, that difference is large enough that we should not ignore the small P delta effect in design. More generally, the P delta effect becomes more significant as the axial load increases. It also becomes more significant as the member stiffness decreases. This graph shows how the amplification factor varies with the ratio P over K. In our example, P over K is about 0.05. That gives us an amplification factor of about 1.05. But as P over K increases, the amplification factor rises much more rapidly. This is why second-order effects matter in design. For less rigid members under significant axial compression, the small P delta effect can noticeably increase the design moment. So, when designing individual members, we should account for this effect to avoid under-designing the member. I hope this example made the P delta effect more concrete and showed how displaced geometry can change the design moment in a significant way.